right, you're on.
Chantel, Viera Vida.
So thrown off. I couldn't hear my little do. Thank you for being a friend, but I hope y'all did. And Shan underscore is here with me. What's up, boo boo? You looking like a snack.
Yeah, right. Listen, I'm about to do like this. Hold on. I'm about to do my the show like this because I can't compete with you today, friend, at all. Not saying we ever competing, but friend.
Bye,
Friend.
friend. For y'all that listen on the radio, she gonna turn her camera off. She's so crazy.
That's because my friend over here, Miss Viera, if you nasty, got her hair cut and she got her curls popping. The curl pattern is on point.
Is that what she had
That's what she had did. So,
Yes, I'm very happy with it. Actually,
it looks really, really good.
it was a huge change for me. I've never cut my hair this short before, but we've been talking about just embracing who we are in so many different ways. And one of those ways for me was I never really embraced my hair texture. And sorry, there are cats running out in the background. And so I would always comb my hair out, or I would straighten it, or I would never really embrace my curls. So I said, let's go on this curly journey. And that actually meant I would need to cut off a lot of, the relaxing that I had done and the
Yeah.
straightening and all that. So I went for it.
Yeah. I feel like you weren't the only one who was in that boat. I feel like people who grew up with curly hair, like around our age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, I think they had that same feeling that you had growing up. I don't think the curly was embraced by society, and then products were not what they are today for the curly
That's
hair.
true. That
Yeah,
is true,
so
true, true.
yeah, so the curly hair is popping. I remember, so my cousin, I have a cousin who has really, really curly hair, and she
Is
was
it Shannon?
so not Shannon. Shannon has really curly hair. My cousin Delicia, she has really, really curly hair and tight curls, and she was straightening it a lot. And I remember being like, "Why are you straightening your hair? Where's your curls?" But
Her
it
curls
got to
are
the point
so
where
beautiful.
she finally got to a point where she too embraced them, and now she's wearing them, and I'm like, "This is gorgeous." And so yeah,
Oh, she's wearing them now. See, I love that. We can talk a little bit more about what this means in terms of self development and such too throughout the episode because I did kind of want to talk about it because, like, it's the elephant in a room. It's like, I'm just kidding,
yeah,
guys.
bro, we're gonna let you
But
shine. No, no, we're gonna let you shine. Definitely. Today's episode of the shout out of the day for the roses goes to Julie Vieira and how she felt in this transformation. So today's episode is the complete roses. The bouquet is going to Julie. So let's just talk about you and your hair and how you felt, and internally and externally, and the mental psychiness of it all and everything.
I'm dead right now.
And I'm
um,
kind of serious.
I do really poorly with compliments. Sorry, guys. Oh,
We
you're
can talk about that too. Look, I don't even know if you had a program together today.
so a
I'm
program.
probably railroading the entire show.
Go ahead, friend. You could do that. Guess why? Because you run this show too.
I probably like just if you had a program, you could tell me like, okay, friend. So what we're gonna talk about today is, um, but no. So I don't. If you had roses, I don't want to take that away from you because you
I
know
do.
that's like
I
the
do
first.
have roses,
Yeah. So
and my roses actually, um, they're also related to the hair. Sorry, but you know how we
don't I know?
are. I actually wanted to shout out Curl and Wellness. It's this amazing salon in Bryn Mawr, PA, on Lancaster Ave, and they specialize specifically in curls. And I went there yesterday. I did a lot of research before choosing the salon, and I finally settled on this one. And I got to choose my stylist, so obviously I stalked her too on Instagram and everything. And I had a great experience. But beyond that, this this was beyond a good experience, right? Like I have gone to many haircuts and left crying. I have been very upset with, just
Conversation. Yeah.
the non-communication, not knowing what's going on behind my head, not being able to look in the mirror, things like that. And this was completely opposite. It was the best experience. They taught me so many things that, throughout the whole process. It was a whole scientific spiel and explanation. They gave me mirrors when they were washing my hair so I could see how they were washing my hair. They gave me all of the knowledge, all of the product explanation. it was beyond just a haircut. It was very much an experience.
Yes. And Julie, can you let everyone know, because I already know because we had a face chat last night after you got your haircut. For anyone who is watching on YouTube, let them know that this is not a perm and they did not put rods in your hair. This was not curled.
That.
Yeah.
Everyone does keep asking me that. I don't know if you can tell because of like how the light is right now.
Yeah.
But people keep asking if I like got rods in my hair, yeah, or I got a perm, or if they used heat. No, none of that. No heat. They didn't take a curling iron. They didn't take a curling wand. She didn't even take my hair and wrap it around her finger to create shape. She did the cut one by one, curl by curl, in order to maximize the strengths of my curl pattern and my texture. And this is a training that takes like years to really understand how to do what's called a diva cut. So yeah, this is actually my hair. I didn't know it could get this curly. I didn't know what my texture was. And she even said that this is not as curly as my hair actually is, because I've still been using sulfates. I've still been, relaxing and straightening it. So she said, if I decide to go about the curly girl method, which is a whole spiel on its own, then it'll get even curlier.
If I have a vote in to say of what you're gonna do with your hair, I say go the whole curly girl method.
Well, then it's
like,
so
sometime later, you can decide if I'm gonna straighten it today. Okay, today, but then I'm be on you like, friend, when you gonna let them curls back in? Because I really like curls. My hair has a very small wave to it. This is blow dry. Like when I say small, it's super small. But like I don't even really let people see it that much because once I get out, I always just blow dry it. But I have been a fan of curls, and I understand having friends, having family that had really curly hair. Again, there were really no products for women with curly hair when we were growing up. And I've heard the conversations of, I can't, literally I've had friends who like, I can't stand my hair. Like they had really curly hair. They didn't like it, wanted to chop it off. So this evolution of watching friends and family go through to like embrace this curl and the things that in the technology, I guess the hair technology and things that we have today. It's like, it's nice to sit back and watch. Like I am, I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of curly hair. So to sit,
you know what? I hear you, friend. Yeah. I'm also a huge fan of your hair, like straight, like very just put together. I feel like you always look put together. And isn't that the conversation right there? Yeah. How we always want what we don't have.
Right. That's very true. That's we'll very true. There. But in a couple weeks, this is getting cut too, and I'm getting new colors. So I'm gonna be on here with Julie, like,
yes. Even though you look great, I love when your hair starts growing out, and I love it short. You're one of those people who can wear your hair any type of way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not gonna go too short. I know. So because this was a pixie grow out, I have like lengths all over the place. So I think I'm gonna go about. Oh, I showed Julie. Julie's seen the photo of what I'm getting. Something's gonna come off, but yeah.
I showed it to my brother yesterday that you were thinking about cutting your hair because, Chantel sends me pictures. We talk about these things. We get really excited about them and support each other. That's also what the show is about. And I was at the salon. My brother waited outside for me basically for 5 hours. He went to get gas and came back, but he was so scared that I would pass out and he wouldn't be there. And it was just so sweet. And I don't know, like he was super patient and he's just grown so much. But he told me that your haircut is going to look so good on you that he can't wait to see it.
Well, tell Miguel I said thank you very much. And then I think that's an additional roses piece of the segment.
For sure. For sure. I actually was going to give him a shout out too, because my brother is, wow, like I just feel so fortunate because he has come from a tough background and had this barrier that was really locking out the world, right? And we've all been there. We've all had a time in which we felt like I can't trust the world. There's so much negativity. And I really made it my mission to show him that, there can be positivity and there can be what's that love that moms have? Unconditional love. Unconditional? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Incondicional. Oh, okay, it's unconditional. It's inconditional in Spanish. So yeah, I've been lucky enough to see his journey and see a huge shift in his personality and in the trust. And I just feel so fortunate to be part of that journey, especially in a time when everything seems to be pretty negative,
Yeah. And your brother's talented too, as far as his hands. He has actually painted. He painted our upstairs and got like, over top of the stairs where you're like, how did you get up there? I was asking Chris, how did he get that? But he did, and it was a really good job. He also helped with a couple other things around the house, so he has
I've
talent.
never like met a task that he couldn't do.
Yeah.
Like literally, some people will be like, "Oh, I never thought." He'd be like, "You know what? I saw on a show they did bop bop boom 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 bop," and he'll do it. It'll
People
be
like that crack me up.
yeah, anything from painting to he knows electrical work. He's the transporter, drives me everywhere. Getting ready to be my home health aide for those of you who are new to the show. I do have a health condition, and so I usually need to have somebody with me, and he's going to be doing that. And so it's just shout out to Miguel.
Yeah,
Shout
that's
out to Miguel.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really good. That's really nice because you know, say you and Julio did decide, yes, you're gonna go the route of like a home health aide, right? Before Miguel even stepped into like the picture of being that for you. It's a stranger in your house, somebody that you have to fully trust, like around your possessions, around like your comfort of your home.
And they have to be here because I'm unconscious.
Right.
So
Then
then
you have
there's
to
that.
trust that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing for you if you go unconscious. So I think that's pretty amazing that, he's gonna step in for you. Somebody that you trust, you already know is
Yeah,
gonna be there.
for sure. And what's also really basically what you said is I was thinking about a home health aide, but I wouldn't call. I wasn't for it because of that,
Yeah.
because of the whole stranger danger mindset.
Yeah.
And then I saw an opportunity to give back, right? And that's why I decided to get a health aide, because I know that it stresses my husband, but also it can be a financial benefit for my brother
Right.
to do what he's doing already for free. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sold. We can do it. I need it anyway. So we're going through that process now, and it's definitely been a huge relief for Julio, which means it benefits my marriage, and it's just good overall.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. So for today's episode, actually, I did have in mind that we would talk about self love. And a lot of that had to do with the journey that I had this week and in the last few weeks where I was deciding to make big changes, whether they be, physical, mental, or
Mm-hmm.
spiritually. And so you're right, actually, Chantel, you hit the nail on the head that this is going to be part of the conversation today. And it's funny because we're usually like right on the money, like thinking what each other's thinking.
Yep,
And
that's why I
sometimes
laugh.
we'll script out episodes, but sometimes we don't. And so when that happens, it tends to be Sancocho episodes, but we were both on track today. So I'm so excited that you all are listening. I have the YouTube screen open, so if you want to drop any comments, go ahead and drop those and take part in the discussion. We'll be back just after this break because we're going to talk about self-love, what it means to accept yourself, what it means to accept others, and how we can navigate that in a world today where it seems that there's conflict everywhere. So stick with us.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Hey besties, welcome back to the Viera Vida show. I'm Julie, and we have with us the gorgeous Chantel, Shan underscore Brown, and we are talking about self-love today. That being said, Chantel,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel today? How are you feeling, right? Because the first step in figuring out how to love ourselves is figuring out where we're at today, right now. How are you feeling?
So Monday, it was really weird. I'm gonna be all the way honest, and I told my mother, I think Monday or Tuesday. I just felt really weird, and I used the words, and I don't know if I was exaggerating at the time. But I was like, I feel like I'm going through like an early midlife crisis. It literally lasted only for one day, but I kind of sat back like, what am I doing? Um, what am I working on? And it didn't really go as far as what is my purpose. That's not as far, like, I didn't think that far in my thoughts, but I just felt uneasy. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know why yet, right? So that's something I don't really have an answer if anybody were to listen or comment, like, well, what was it? Did you figure it out? I don't know what that is yet. Do I have that same feeling that I had Monday? No. Um, but to say all of that, last night, I actually decided that it's time to try to get my daughter sleeping on her own. And that's kind of it's been a big struggle. And I feel like it's even harder. My sister did it really well, so shout out to her. But I feel like it's even harder for women who nurse. Um, and then it's harder for women who are nursing and working because it's easier to just roll over in the bed and here you go while mom is able to go back to sleep because she has to wake up early in the morning. So I started that process last night, and I told my sister it was tough. My husband had to be the one to go and like comfort her, and we're also allowing her. I set up a bed for Nehemiah and Eliana so that she had somebody to lay next to. So I'm gonna try like steps.
That's nice.
I'm just trying to get her away from me, the comfort that she's always looking for from me at night. And I was texting my sister, telling her how tough this was. But I also told my sister, I just think I'm at the place for me where I kind of got a little bit selfish, for the lack of better words, just knowing where I am and what I need. That doesn't mean I'm completely turning my back on my soon to be 2 year old. Like, not at all. But
No.
I don't know. I think mentally I need a shifting here as far as that dynamic goes.
So you actually created the perfect segue because one of the themes of today and what I wanted to call this episode is self-care is not selfish,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's especially common for moms to feel that when it's time to take care of themselves and when it's time to make changes that will affect not them just themselves but their children, that it's selfish. Can you talk about that and where your thought process is there?
So I'm a person where I can have two thoughts going on in my head at the same time. And I was told in college by someone, you have two answers for everything. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, I do. So thinking about, I guess, my daughter, because my son is sleeping on his own. Of course, there's times he tries to come and sneak into our room. We've had to set him up a little makeshift bed on the side because like we don't have room in this bed for everybody. But I started to feel guilty at times. Like I was going through a mix of emotions of feeling guilty. Um, what if she really needs me? But then her brother was there with her. And then with her brother being there with her, my husband was also going in and trying to give her the comfort, right? So it's not like we just completely left her by herself to figure this out. But then the thoughts were like, oh my gosh, maybe she's hungry because she's trying to nurse, right? Maybe, maybe she really does need the milk. And I had to keep reminding myself, she's soon to be 2. She is old enough to eat food. Food and solids are supposed to be her primary source of where she's getting her calories, her nutrition. Milk, even if she still wasn't nursing, is the secondary. So I had to like remind myself of these things, of feeling like, whoa, maybe she really is hungry. Maybe I need to nurse her. No, she's okay.
Yeah.
So,
People don't just know these things though.
yeah.
Like how would you have known that without, showing that you care and doing the research?
Yeah.
I would like that kind of blew my mind right there where it was like, oh, it's primary and secondary ways that people get nutrients.
Yeah. Especially the little ones, because once they get to a year, I was about to give you the whole water thing. Once they get to a year, then solid should be taken over as the main source of nutrients. And then milk, whether it be you finishing up the formula or finishing up the breast milk or continuing breast milk or moving to a different form of milk, whether it be almond or whatever so anybody does, that should continue to be given just so that they still get their vitamins out of it. But it's not as necessary as it was when they were like born to less than a year old.
So what was the catalyst? What made you make that shift in deciding that now it's time?
I think so. What you said with the self-care, it really was like, I just need my night. So, you know, I still go into the office, right? So if you think, even let's talk about it without COVID. If it's
Okay.
a mom who's working, or even if it's a mom that's home, because I've done both. Um, for Eliana's mostly first year of her life, I was home with her, and they both have their own struggles. I think mothers who go to work, um, and come home, I notice like, oh, I wish I could be a stay at home, right? And
Mhm.
then mothers who are stay at home, I have heard arguments from some that says, I was a stay at home mom, it was tough. Some of them love it, some of them thrive, and some are like, okay, I need the adult interaction. So
Yeah.
there's two different struggles in working because you feel selfish that you're not giving your child what they need, and then there's a struggle of being a stay at home, especially when you have a newborn, right? Or an infant. I can speak because I did it. There's a struggle of, if my husband walks through this door and nothing was done today, he's gonna look at me like, what did you do? Right?
Mm.
There's that struggle. And it's like, I was with this baby that didn't want to go down. They were crying all day. What did you want me to do?
Right.
So
I hear you.
yeah, it's like, it's two different roads in the struggle. So um right now, speaking from a mother who works, I do get to go to the office and get that mental release and get that mental break from being around other adults, interacting with other adults, and then coming home. It's, I'm on. Bless you, and I couldn't hear it
Thank
through
you.
the
I
speakers.
muted it.
Bless you. Oh, good move. So when I come home, I do feel like it is mom, like mom's on, and that is what it is. It's what it is. You're a parent, right? This is what you do. But the times to be able to maybe clean up, or the times to maybe sit with your spouse, or the times to just, if I want to read a book, or the times to, I just want to watch a program,
Yeah.
those things are still not happening for me at night, because this girl will not go to sleep without me.
Okay.
Chris might be able to put her to sleep at like sometimes here and there, and she'll wake up maybe an hour after he lays her down, and refuses to go back down until she sees mom. So I just felt like, to answer your question, I just gave a long explanation to answer your question, that
But sometimes that's what it is. It's a
yeah,
long
I'm
process.
finally, and you're absolutely right. I think I'm just at the point where she will be okay. And I would like the time for me.
You need to be okay also.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. And I want to touch on something that you brought up, and as a mother, it's heightened for you. It's more difficult. But that stay at home mindset, right? And I feel like, as anybody who's a stay at home mom, or even for someone like myself who works from home, that fulfillment is there for yourself, and then sometimes can be sucked out when you remember that the setting that you're sitting in has so many things to be done. Like,
Yeah.
behind me, you'll see my curl bag right here that's been bothering me this whole episode. But like, for example, like tidying up, like right now, when I woke up, my priority was to get on here, to get things together for my guests that are coming. And sometimes I can't do it all. And sometimes my husband comes home and he's like, well, what did you do? And all I can say is like, I really needed to sleep today. I really needed to take care of my body. And it's embarrassing, and he's not like hard on me about it, but it is tough. Like, it makes you feel less than. So what can we do to combat that? Because I know it's something I struggle with, so maybe we can exchange tips on how we can deal with that.
Definitely. I think so. From speaking, and then I understand that as well, not trying to compare anything of what I go through, but I do suffer migraines, and that can knock you on your behind for the entire day, or when you're going through the episode. And I have felt guilty. So even when I suffer a migraine, the very next day, I sometimes suffer what's called a migraine hangover. So you might not have the pain, but you're like, I go through symptoms of being woozy and still a little bit out of it, and tired and exhausted.
For sure.
And then you try, and I know Julie can attest to this, like the next day after you might have had like a bad day, you still try to, like, okay, I missed so much yesterday, let me get up and do these things. And then you physically can't, like your body's saying no. And then, to have a spouse, and again, I know Julio's great with Julie, and Chris has, I'm not saying that he's this way either necessarily, but they don't necessarily understand the struggle, because Chris doesn't really suffer. He tells me, oh, I've had headaches. I'm like, headaches are not migraines. Like, it's completely different. The hangover period of feeling sick the next day, like still feeling like your body has to recover, he doesn't necessarily understand that. So he's looking at me like, okay, you don't have a migraine. You should be able to do this. What are you doing? How come you're not getting up? So what I finally just had to tell myself is, I know what I'm dealing with, right? Whether it even just be the children. Let's say if it's not the migraine. I told my sister the other day, Eliana fell asleep on me, took a nap. And at one point I felt like a little guilty for just laying there, but I'm like, she's only going to be this small for so long. My 5-year-old does not want to take naps with me anymore. There's once in a while he'll come, mom, cuddle, okay, and then he runs off. Like, I have to embrace the fact that this little baby wants to still nap with mom because she's not going to want to continue doing this as she gets bigger. So I am just starting to tell myself, like, try to live in the moment. If my body's not feeling well in the moment, it is what it is. Like, I have to understand what I'm dealing with. And as long as I'm not, it's not like I'm sitting here faking it. It's not like I'm sitting here just trying just to lay down and just lounge. It is what it is. Like, I have to rest. And if my daughter wants to take a nap on me, or even if Nehemiah at 5 says, mom, let's take a nap, we must nap. Oh yeah, we're going to cuddle on the couch and we're going to nap. And that is what it is. My mom always says this, the laundry, there's always going to be laundry. There's always going to be things to do in your house. That stuff can be done tomorrow.
Wow, that's beautiful. Like for me too, it's when you're making those statements and you're talking about how you prioritize those relationships and those times for cuddling and such, I don't think people realize that it's not just about you, right? So when you say that, like, I want to have this time, it's not always going to be like this. It sounds to them like, I want to have this time because it's for me and I really like to cuddle, which, yeah, that could be part of it. But part of it is, this is a part of development and a part of your childhood development. When I look back to my childhood, having gone to Milton Hershey, I do wish I had somebody to hug at night. I do wish that, like, when I was sick, I had someone, like, that I knew around. Yeah. I wish that, I could cuddle on the couch. I wish I could sit on the couch, like, and these things are things that now, and, we have a very open dialogue on the show that now I'm working through with my psychiatrist or psychologist, just to figure out, like, different parts of what's going on in my life. And part of it is, like, you need those type of things for your development, whether you're separated physically or you're separated just in a moment from your parents. That can be very traumatizing. So you making those efforts it's not just bettering you. It's not just bettering your child. It's a cycle that continues, because then they're going to be more affectionate with their children and their spouse, and more accepting of these type of mindsets in their jobs and so on. So this is a very trickle down effect that we have to keep in mind, is a huge part of self-care, but it's a part of taking care of the world that we live in at the end of the day.
Very true. And I know I said it previously, but I just want to say it again. I think if anybody who's listening or watching, if they're like, well, I feel guilty when I sit, do you need that rest? Do you need that moment to sit? I've had conversations with my sister, and I'm bringing her up because she is a stay-at-home to 2 beautiful children, and she, she's married. We've had conversations where it's like, if you step into my house right now, it's crazy. I have laundry that needs to be folded. I haven't touched it. It's been a whole week. Like, we've had conversations where we might try to stay on. I didn't even notice it. Your hair and your face is so popping. I didn't even notice the background. So,
we'll work like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've had conversations about, like, I'll tell her, at least I'm just trying to keep, like, the dishes clean out the sink, because that will drive me crazy if it piles up. But, I needed a break this week and it looks crazy, and maybe I'll just get on it on this weekend. And that's sometimes what we have to do. And I think, again, if you need that rest and you need that break, do not drive yourself crazy. I don't think we need to drive ourselves crazy to make sure the house is spick and span. Like, it looks like it's lived in. And I'm going to tell you one more thing, and then I'm going to hush to let you take over. Chris had a friend come over. It's been about a year or 2 years now. And he, like, just told Chris he was going to stop by. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was on my way from work. I was working with you. So yeah, it's been about 2 years.
I remember that day.
I think I texted you like, oh my gosh, he's just come in. Like, I have to pick up the house. I don't even know what the state of the house looks like. And he came over. He was there before I got home, because I was trying to get home before him to, like, make sure that nothing was out of place. And I apologized to him for, like, Nehemiah's toys and maybe some clothes. And he said to us, this is not a mess. He said, this is just lived in. He was like, I've been in some messy run down, really bad homes because the job that he works. And he was like, "This is not it. You guys are fine."
Yeah,
And
there's a difference.
exactly when he said it to me, I was just like, okay, all right, like that. And I'm not saying that his word like solves it all or like his word was golden and that's it. But to know somebody who's outside to come in and just be like, no, you're fine. You can just sit down. You don't have to worry about picking anything up. Kind of let me know that, sometimes your house is going to look lived in. You, especially if you have children, there's going to be toys. If you're an adult and don't have children and you have projects you're working on, you stop by with being unannounced. You're going to see what it's looking like as we're living.
And
Yeah.
and that's the part of things like communicating and friends and even the show is that you might think that whatever you're saying is just a small statement or like this is just my little opinion, but it can really impact somebody and look 2 years later you're really feeling that. And the same thing goes with rest. Like when you're being lazy and when you're taking care of yourself. There's a fine line, and at the end of the day you always have to make sure life is about balance. So I agree with that 100%.
I have a question.
So,
Sorry, you're moving on to
yeah.
something else. Go ahead.
No. Ask your question.
I was going to move to asking what was the catalyst for you with your hair?
Oh, okay. So I had always gotten my hair relaxed and like Brazilian blowout, keratin treatment almost every year since, oh my gosh, like high school. And so I had texture, I had waves, and if I wanted to wear it quote unquote curly one day, I would do the whole like, wet it, style it, whatever. And during COVID, I would have had my keratin appointment to refresh, and that passed. And then quarantine continued, and quarantine never ended. And I noticed that my hair was getting curlier and curlier. And and then I kept on seeing people just sort of like embrace themselves in different ways during COVID. So a lot of this is quarantine. You'll see like building up on each other, and it became more normal to wear your comfies. Became more normalized to not straighten your hair every day, to not get dressed every day, to whatever it is that you need to do
Be
to
your
take care of
natural
yourself.
self.
Be your natural self. And then so the Black Lives Matter movement really took a turn this year. And one thing that I kept noticing pop up on my feed were posts of jobs who had told different people with textured hair, whether it was curly, coily, really beautiful, voluminous hair, that it was inappropriate for the workplace, or that it was unprofessional, or that it looked messy, or whatever disheveled negative terms. And there's this documentary called Pelo Malo, and that means bad hair. And it's the same thing in the Latino community that I kept seeing, or it's like, this person has good hair, this one has pelo malo. And so it was like I kept on seeing these signs. And I don't know if and at the end of the day, I feel like everything happens with a purpose. And I've been, doing my devotions and such. And I feel like God was like, you're not loving yourself fully. And so I started to do that in different ways. And one of the ways that I found like these signals coming through was through my hair. I don't know, as it sounds much deeper than, I realized it was step by step in the journey. So then I was like, you know what, Saudi, my sister-in-law, she has beautiful curly hair. Do you want to do this curly girl journey with me? Because I would really like to start embracing my curls. And I think your hair is lovely. And so it'd be cool if we did it together. And she was down for it. And then I learned about the Diva Cut and it improving your curls. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I found a really great salon. And when I got there yesterday, I didn't know I was going to go this short. I walked in and she made me feel comfortable right away. Teresa, the owner of the salon I went to, which I highly recommend. Like, let me know if any of you need a haircut and you're going to check them out. She made me feel so comfortable. And I just looked at her and I really like took a deep breath and I was like, you know what, cut whatever you need to cut off to make me healthy, because being healthy is one of my top goals of this year of my life, but like considering my health and such. And I was like, whatever I need to do to be healthy. And she was like, it might be a lot. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever it needs to be. And won't he do it? Because God was like, go ahead, do it. And I didn't regret it. And any other time I've gotten my haircut, I would have regretted it. And that's because I made this a journey about me and not about my hair.
That's pretty good that you said that as well, because what was going through my mind as you were talking, I kid you not, and then what you said was it's about you and not your hair. I started thinking about men and women, and I'm going to put men in there because, you know, I'm sure it has to they have to deal with it. Even though it's more acceptable for them to be bald, and I say more acceptable for them than women, there's things that women go through where they lose their hair, whether it be conditions or they're going through certain treatments and they lose their hair. And I am positive that has to be like tough. That has to be a really tough thing, right? Because, you know, especially as women, like our hair is like our identity. Especially, I feel like, I don't know if this is just, I'm just gonna say it. I feel like with Latinas, if they have long hair, like you don't cut your hair. Like I have family members, the hair is long, like it stays long. They might take a little bit of a trim. And if there's too much of a trim, even though it's still long, they're gonna cry. Like, you know, they're really connected to your hair. But at the end of the day, you know, heaven forbid that you lose your hair. That's out of your control. Are you still going to be able to get up and be like, no, I still look good? You know, so to say that, you know, we're thankful for the hair that we have, texture and everything, and being able and have the finances to be able to get such a great cut. But at the end of the day, it is about you, right?
Yeah.
Because this hair can be gone tomorrow. It's like, what about you?
Yeah, and this journey, it's important for everyone to go through in whatever type of way. I'm so blessed to have really supportive friends and family. Like Josh, he just commented on the thread. Not only did he say, okay, blush, because I'll put blush on today. Thank you, friend. He was like, and the Lord, the Lord with the T,
Lord,
you know how he says it, had said, treat thyself. LOL. Which but I love how you said that about it being a personal journey. And I remember being really scared that my hair was a part of what kept my husband interested in me, right? So when we first started dating, he would always say, like, I would never date a girl with short hair. I would never be interested in a girl with short hair. Never cut your hair. Not realizing that these are things that he was taught, you know, within our community. And he was never about short hair. And so I was like, I can't try it. You know, I was interested in trying it while I could still grow it back. I know it's going to be healthy, but I never really tried it. I did cut it a little bit after college. I mean, after high school, but that's before I met him. So I'm not going to lie. I had a fear that I would disappoint him in cutting my hair. Like it's not mine or something. And even yesterday I still felt that. I did. But at the end of the day, what I've been realizing is that while you are one in your marriage, at the end of the day, you need to be one whole person by yourself first. And I realized that that was something I was holding back from myself within this marriage, right? And it sounds so silly, and he's not controlling at all. Like he was so he was supportive. He's like, how short are you gonna go? How short are you gonna go? Obviously he wanted to know, but I was like, as short as I want to go. And you know, he said that was beautiful and everything. He did say it's gonna take some getting used to. So he's not a huge fan of it, but you know what? That's fine, because at the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of it, and I feel like I got somewhere with this. I feel like I am more myself and more autonomous. And for someone who has a, you know, like what can be at times pretty debilitating condition, that sense of autonomy means everything to me. And that's something that I was able to achieve yesterday.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've had this conversation as well with my sister regarding hair and your spouse or your partner and their opinion on it, right? Because Chris and I met when my hair was like chopped off, and it was the first time I ever cut it off, like pixie, like short all the way off. Imagine Rihanna's first haircut. So that's literally what I was going after. And then I think once he proposed to me, I stopped cutting it because I wanted, you know, to be able to grow it out for the wedding. My hair was a little bit longer than it is now. It wasn't crazy long. It might have been down to like my shoulders. And I remember one day he says to me, because then I cut it off again. He was fine with that one. He actually paid for that one because he was tired of me seeing me in a ponytail, because all I would do was quick and go, put a ponytail, keep it moving, right? He never told me how he felt about like hair until maybe a good year or two ago. And in my mind, I have to be completely honest. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to be honest, because to me, I'm like, you met me with short hair and this is my head. I think that's you eyeing your cat. and I agree. So I struggle, right, with this is how I think, this is what I think about it. If you're in a relationship, long-term relationship, a marriage, yes, you should still want to be attractive to your spouse. But at the end of the day, I'm still me. Like, and I am going to try to respect what it is that you're asking me, but I also still have to feel good about myself, because,
Right.
and I'm not saying that's where we're going to go, but what happens if I find myself alone for whatever reason, whatever the case is, because life happens sometimes. I still have to know how to live with Chantel. I still have to know how to be happy with me. So while, yes, I hear what you're saying, maybe I'll compromise. Maybe I won't cut it all the way off again. But like you said, it's still on my head, and I still have to know how to live with me. And I want you to like what it is that I have. And again, I think you look gorgeous. And he said, like, you know, your husband told you he has to get used to it. He was honest.
Yeah.
Like, it looks really good. And it's also getting your hair back to being healthy.
Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. Yeah. And I just want to let you guys know, like, this is the only surface they're allowed to jump on in the house, because I paint on here and all kinds of things. So these cats take advantage, and so you'll see them.
Not about to look at me like a cat lady that be like cats all over. Yeah. They don't go on my fridge.
No, Chantel knows this. They don't go on my countertops. They don't go on my dining room table. They don't do that. But there is a huge windowsill right here behind the camera that is like the loveliest place for them to sit. So when I put my desk here, I was like, dang, I'm taking their favorite spot away. So I just let them jump onto the window. But disclaimer aside, I do feel what you're saying about that balance, right? And it goes back to balance, because we're not disrespecting our husbands. We're not just jumping out and doing things without communicating, because communicating is really key. I didn't leave and then not tell my husband that it could have been possible that I was cutting my hair short. I didn't like just like surprise him, like, surprise, I'm getting this haircut or anything, because that's not fair. But I just make sure that I let you know.
Yeah.
And we come to some type of agreement. I let you know what I'm comfortable with, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I've done that before. And again, I think because one, I met him with really short hair, and then after we got married and he was tired of seeing the hip ponytail, he paid for me to go get it done, and I got it chopped off again, which he was fine with. And he said to me, as long as you're not in that ponytail, right? So I had no idea that he preferred longer hair. Like, he just never really said anything until about a year ago. And I think one time he said it because I popped up again, just cut it off, because that's what I was used to. So this time around, I did like let him know I'm going to get my hair done. And that's probably going to get cut. And then when I found what I wanted, the same look I sent to Julie, I did send to him. He did say it's kind of short. I'm like, well, it's not going to be as short as it used to be, because it's going to be more of a bob, but
and your hair grows out very quickly also. You have those options.
Yeah, it does. So I have to be thankful for that. But, you know, I think what you said was really good, having the communication and the conversation before just doing it, to let them know, hey, I'm respecting you, to let you know this is what I want to do. And again, it's not leaving your spouse out there looking all crazy. So
yeah. And so at the end of the day, you know, we can go back and we can start thinking about, you know, times in which we have decided to put our personal, you know, self-care aside because we were uncomfortable with what someone else thought. We were uncomfortable with feeling like we look selfish, like we are being selfish. But at the end of the day, we have to really evaluate what is going to make us healthier emotionally, spiritually, physically. And even if it were just, you know, emotionally, for me, I feel healthier today than I did yesterday. And we're getting lots of comments that everyone's being so supportive and saying that they do like the hair. And it feels weird. Mom. Yeah, it feels weird having a conversation about it because I don't know, because it's about me. You know how it goes? Like, it just feels awkward. Yeah, but everybody has been so supportive, and it makes me feel like appreciated for, I mean, obviously not this, right? For who I am. And just like the idea of being more confident. And I didn't even realize that, but I've had literally 5 people tell me that, oh, your confidence is showing, like your sister just texted me that, your mom just wrote that, my mom wrote that. Like so many people are seeing that. And we have a comment It says, I agree with you, ladies, being a Latina. My husband said basically the same thing Julio said about long hair. But when I was ready, I also cut my hair short and I loved it.
My mom went short. I remember photos. I don't know, like to think back, because my memory's pretty good, but she went short too. I think, if mom can correct me, I think there was a Demi Moore cut that like back in the 90s that mom had done, not the GI Jane buzz, not that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but she had a short cut. And it's funny that you bring up confidence. I literally wrote on here self-confidence, like before you even started talking about confidence. Because so we were talking about spouses, and I think, once we as women, as people, even as men, because I know men can struggle with insecurities and confidence. Once you know who you are and you know the confidence that you have, that is only, in my opinion, only going to help your marriage. If it doesn't help, then your spouse needs to figure out what they need to work on, or your partner needs to figure that out. Because I feel like once we start, having that self-confidence to know who you are, even in the cutting the hair, making yourself feel better, that's just going to make your spouse know, oh, this is how, and we've talked about this before, treating yourself and showing yourself the respect that you are demanding from other people. And that's the same in the marriage, because we've had this, Julie and I had this conversation on air about a year ago now, where, in order to get the respect you want, you have to respect yourself first. And I think that also ties over to your relationship, your romantic relationship as well.
Yeah. 100%. And you also got an amen in the chat, and you were correct about the hairstyle. And so we have a comment that says, it depends on where we are in our lives, right? If we don't take care of ourselves first, then how can we truly take care of others? And that's the 100% underlying period point.
Yes.
Of all of this.
Exactly. And I'm gonna be real, and I'm gonna say this, right? And I'm not trying to start no problems, but I feel like as a woman, the moment you recognize who you are, if you're in a romantic relationship, the moment you recognize who you are as far as what you bring to a table, your husband is going to recognize that as well. They'll be like, wait a minute, hold on. But who are you looking good for? And it's like, babe, it's for you. But it's like, it makes them open their eyes and realize, I think it's instead of them taking for granted the fact that you've just been here and here we are, we've been together for this long and it's the same thing over and over again. Once you know, and hopefully, there are women out there who already knew when they got in the relationship, when they got into the relationship. But for people like me, and I don't want to, speak for Julie, but maybe Julie, because we've had these conversations openly on air, it might have took us some time to truly recognize what we had inside of ourselves. And once you truly put that foot forward, again, it's only going to help the marriage, because your husband or your spouse is going to have to recognize. They have to recognize what's going on. And that might put a little spring in their step to, come correct.
I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, they're going to come correct, because wait a minute, my wife's looking good. Yes, sir. You better come on now.
Yes, girl. I hear that. I will definitely keep you guys updated. Oh, no.
I have to make sure on the next episode of Viera Vida show, adult only.
That's hilarious. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick break before we come back and we end the show on some final thoughts and, really embrace this time that we had together. So stick with us, because this break is going to be short and we'll be back.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it.
Thank you, Ms. Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift.
50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking out our commercial because I think it was really encouraging. Anybody who's ever interested in growth will understand how important it is to, finish your education. So we thank you for that. I also want to have a little bit of time to shout out our engineer, Olivia. Olivia Bands is out here on the ones and twos. Thank you. And shout out to Josh Hawkins, who has called for a photo shoot. Which I'm down for. See you later. So Chantel, can you give us some final thoughts on what you want the viewers to get from this episode?
I think at the end of the day, I just saw his photo shoot comment. Sorry. It's so excited. Photo shoot. Okay. I'm going to focus now. What I would want people to get from this episode is, at the end of the day, know yourself and take a self-evaluation checklist if you need to from time to time. Ooh. Do not feel guilty if you need to sit and put your feet up and maybe binge watch a show. Okay. Do not feel guilty if you want to read your favorite book and there's still laundry that has to be done. As long as it's not piling high to Mount Everest, it's okay. Like, you could always do it tomorrow. And I know there's a saying, why put off today what you can do tomorrow? But sometimes you have to, just so that your mental state is in a good place.
I love that. And that's how I feel as well. I just want to echo those sentiments. And I want to leave the viewers with one poem that I feel like has really been in my mind ever since 7th grade when we had to memorize it. And I feel like it's impactful at any state in your life. And it's Our Deepest Fear by
Little Flex. Memorize this in 7th grade.
No, but I'm gonna read it now.
No, I know.
I'm gonna read it. They would make us memorize things and then we'd forget it the next year. Some of them we still know. Okay, so it's called Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson, and I hope you guys take this home with you and use this as just a reminder, a daily reminder. So our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you guys for listening today. Tune in every week for the Viera Vida show, and we will be here next Saturday at 10 a.m.
Ciao.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel